Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Five on Friday. I'm Alex Olley, one of the co-founders of Reach Desk. This week, I've also got Kate Lewis and Costas, as you already expect. Great to see you both, guys. Hope you're both doing well. So, this week, we're joined by a phenomenal individual who most of you will have already seen on LinkedIn. We've got Justin Welsh, and we've also got Nish joining us, who's going to participate. Justin, for those of you who don't know, which will be very few people, can you just give us a quick intro on yourself, mate?
Sure. Thank you for the nice compliments. So my name's Justin Welsh, and I run my own advising and consulting business where I help early stage SMB SaaS companies accelerate their revenue towards 50 million. And my background is I'm the former VP of Sales, SVP of Sales, and Chief Revenue Officer at a company called Patient Pop in Los Angeles, where I grew the business from $0 to a little over 50 million in recurring in about 4 years. And prior to that, I served several leadership roles and was a sub 10 employee at a New York unicorn called ZocDoc. And so for the last year, I've been working for myself and tinkering with a bunch of stuff. And so looking forward to helping Nish today if I can.
Awesome, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. You're most welcome. Thanks for joining us. Nish, so tell us a little bit about yourself, mate. Where in the world are you? What time of day it is? Who do you work for? What's your role and what do you sell?
Cool. Yeah, my name's Nish. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. It is, believe it or not, 1:25 a.m. in the morning, middle of the night. I work for Impressive Digital, and my role at Impressive is a digital marketing manager. So that entails a little bit of sales, a lot of account management, customer success, and all the way through to project management as well.
Right, so you're doing a full 360 role then?
Yes.
Good man.
Yep.
Cool, Nish, thanks for joining us, mate. It's a pleasure to have you, and particularly it's the middle of the night for you. Nish, what's the biggest thing you want to take away from this session? Where can we help you?
I have a lot of struggle closing deals, really. And I feel like that's probably where what I'll take away the most from. I get to a point at a deal, and I don't know, it might be the nerves or me just thinking it's my own money, but get to that end of the proposal, end of my pitch, and I go blank, stage fear.
Okay. All right. Well, let's help give you some confidence, give you a bit more structure, and hopefully you can leave with another ace up your sleeve so you can close like an absolute pro. Okay. I'd love to hand it over to Kate and Costas and Justin to ask a few questions. I think you guys probably want to gain a better understanding around Nish's process and that kind of stuff. So, Justin, can I hand over to you first, mate?
Sure. I'd love to understand maybe two things up front, Nish. I would love to understand the challenges that your prospects most commonly face. So when you get onto a conversation with somebody, what are the common challenges? That would be really helpful for me to understand. And then I think the next thing that I would like to just know more about is whether or not you have a methodology or a process for selling. Like, do you follow a specific structure or method that you believe works well in your role? I'd love to hear those two things.
Yep. One of the biggest challenges my prospects face is, I guess, their understanding of digital marketing. A lot of the time when I get on the line with prospects, they have no idea what I'm talking about, and I have to talk very high level. And so getting me, I feel like I'm a bit more of a technical, analytical person. So having to break it down and be very top level is probably one of my challenges, and also my prospects' challenges, because having to go to that deeper level of understanding to get to, I guess, solution mode to be able to provide something for the problem that they have is very difficult when they're very new to digital marketing and they don't have a lot of the education behind to back it up. In terms of my process, I like to approach from an educational standpoint. So one of the first questions I usually I like to ask is, how's your technical knowledge in digital marketing? Do you know what search engine optimization is? Have you ever done Google Ads before? What is the experience with it? and I like to explore how much they know about the field, and that allows me to then dig a little bit deeper and understand at what level of technical standpoint I need to enter the conversation at. And then from there, I like to do a lot of dynamic and live demos. I really like to get my hands on the computer and sharing my screen and using the tools that I have, and taking through like live demos and explaining how it all works, because I feel like the more that they see, the more that they'll understand. And then from there, I get them to guide the conversation and guide me through the journey of them explaining to me what the problem is, and from there going into solution mode.
I'm interested in so it was, thank you for that. That was really well detailed. When I asked what a common challenge was, you said that prospects don't often understand what digital marketing is. I would suggest that is your challenge, right, to overcome.
Yes.
But if you flip it around, what I'm actually interested in is their specific challenge in terms of why are they having a conversation with you. So for instance, I've sold digital marketing in the past. For the past 5 years, I sold digital marketing and built teams that did that. So I'm super familiar with the space. Oftentimes when I would talk with customers, they would have certain types of challenges. I'll give you an example. Some might say, I don't have enough leads for my business. Others might say, my revenue is declining. Some would say, you know what, I just am not on page 1 of Google, and I'm really frustrated because my competitor is, even though it doesn't matter really in their revenue, like it's an ego sell. So I'd love to understand from your standpoint, what are the common things you actually hear from customers that are like, Nish, I need to solve X. What are those things?
Yeah, thanks for breaking it down. So we've got revenue is one of them. So they come up to me and say, look, we've invested into this agency. We were looking to grow our leads, or we're looking to get to position 1 to be able to generate more leads, but we just haven't generated it. We expected this, but we didn't achieve it. And breaking that down, digging a little bit deeper, it goes into a little bit deeper about what some of the problems are, and what I've sort of understood was just a little bit of an education piece. And that's also a problem that I have. It's understanding at what standpoint they're at, and then being able to go a little bit deeper into that. Another issue, another thing that comes up is KPIs. So we've been with this agency, we had these KPIs in place, weren't able to hit it. We're burnt in the past, and we've just lost all faith in digital marketing, and it's a very tough conversation.
Certainly. No, that's real. So this is great, because I've sold basically these exact tools into an uneducated buyer. So I sold digital marketing tools for 5 years, and my teams did, to physicians, doctors here in the US. And while they're very educated people, they have no education on search engine marketing, search engine optimization. So I understand your challenges, and have some hopefully some really good advice that can help, because you sound like a technical expert. And I would say that while I am probably not as much of a technical marketing expert as you are, I fancy myself as someone who knows more than the physicians I was talking to. And so we can use some of that expertise to drive this sale forward. Before we get into that, I would love to understand, you jump on a call, do you have a framework? Meaning, like, my framework might look something like this, and maybe I'll miss a few steps since I haven't done it in a while. But my framework is often just opening and introductions. We go through an agenda. I use an upfront contract. We move into some discovery. What I learn in discovery influences what I show them in the demonstration. And to me, discovery is always continuous and constant throughout the call. At the end, I go back to my upfront contract. I share pricing. I hold them accountable for next steps, and we try and close. Do you have a framework like that, or is it just you're kind of off the cuff? I'd love to learn more about that.
Yeah, I adopted this framework at my previous agency, and it was, you might be familiar with it. It's called BANT.
Sure.
So you've got budget, authority, needs, and timeline.
Got it.
And that I've kind of grown used to that for prospecting, understanding at what level, and whether it's a qualified lead and so on. that's what I'm used to, and that's what I've kind of used so far.
Got it. I would suggest that Bant is slightly antiquated at this point in time. I think it's really hard to get budget with an uneducated buyer. So to give you an example, Nish, I might say to a physician, what's your budget? How much have you set aside to spend on digital marketing? And they'll say, I don't have a budget. If I like this, I'll find it. Right. And now you're in like a tense conversation. It's a little terse and to me, I think there's a better way for finding budget than going through a traditional BANT qualification. So I would recommend maybe the following. And I want to learn a little bit more before I make a recommendation. But do you just do a simple agenda setup and talk about how the call is gonna go? Do you generally do that when you open up your call, Nish? Can you walk me through a quick high level of what that might sound like?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, if I'm cold calling, so if it's a cold call for the first time, I'll usually enter the conversation like, "Hi, my name's Nish. I'm a digital marketing manager from Impressive Digital. Just letting you know, totally a cold call. I've got about 5 to 6 minutes left before my next meeting. I've got this awesome tool that allows me to have a look a little bit deeper at what your competitors are doing. And if you have a little bit of time, I'll quickly demo the tool with you. I just need you to get access to a screen. I'll send you a link if you've got access or if you've got a couple of minutes.
But let's fast forward to the call though, because you mentioned struggling with closing. So someone says, Nish, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see this tool. Let's jump on a demonstration and let's check it out. So great. I'm Justin, the prospect, and I've committed 30 minutes of my time to you, and I'm ready to learn. So you're starting the call. How do you open up the call? I'd love to just understand maybe the first 3 minutes of what a call sounds like. Demonstration, when you're opening up and you're getting everyone situated. What does that sound like?
Yeah, cool. So first, I would like to understand a little bit more about the business. So one of the questions I would ask is, what does a sales journey look like from start to finish on your end?
I want to back it up though, Nish, real fast. Before you get into the discovery, I just want to know, I'm Justin. I'm like, I dial in, I appear on the screen, you're there. How do you set up the call? Like, what are we going to talk about today? How do you set the stage for the call? I'd love to know that more.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we set up the stage for the call? I guess I would send through a meeting invite, a Google Hangouts meeting link, organize the time, got you on the screen. And usually, I usually start with a discovery, but once we've gone a little bit deeper through that, I would start, I guess, getting a little bit more of an understanding of why we're here today, what problems that we have, and what I can do to help.
Cool. I'm sensing a missing piece here, Nish, that I would like to make a recommendation. So, sure. Would anyone be opposed if I whiteboarded? Would that be weird?
Not weird at all.
All good, man.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna move this thing.
I'm just jealous you got a whiteboard.
I think structure will be helpful here, Nish, and hopefully you can see this. So let me grab a thing here. All right. So probably can't see this that well, so I'm just going to kind of kneel down here. But when you start in a call, can we see this right here? Right? The first thing that you need in a call is you need an agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys see that all? Awesome. It's backwards, so maybe that won't work that well, so I'll scratch that.
No, we can see it right, Justin. That's fine.
Yeah,
we can. Well, listen,
okay.
It's hard. It's actually hard for me, so I'll just go off the cuff. So the first thing that you need, in my opinion, Nish, is an agenda. An agenda helps you control the call. Pardon me while I set my computer back up here. So I'll give you an example of an agenda, right? I would get on the call and I would say, hey, Nish, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I know that you're busy. You've only got 30 minutes of your time. Are we still good? 30 minutes of your time, Nish? I've got us from 10:30 to 11 this morning. Is that okay with you? Great. It is. Cool. Here's how the calls generally with my prospects go, Mr. Prospect. When I have this time, here's how I like to start it. I like to spend about the first 8, 10, 12 minutes just really learning about your business. I like to understand what you do, who your target customers are. And then I'd like to really peel into what you're currently doing for digital marketing today, right? I know that when I cold called you, there was something I said that was interesting. I'd like to understand why that was interesting. really kind of suss out some of the challenges that you're having with your current vendor based on our cold call. And then at the end of those questions, I'll probably have a pretty good idea of whether or not I can be helpful. If I can't, I'm going to give you your time back. We'll stop after 10 minutes. If I can't help you, I'll make a recommendation and suggest maybe a different type of software or service that I think would be really beneficial. But if I do believe that I can help you, I'll probably spend the next 20 minutes showing you how I help other businesses like yours overcome some of the same challenges that I learn about during our questions. Does that sound good, Mr. or Mrs. Customer? Is that sounding like a good spend of our time? Like, to me, that would be an agenda. And maybe that wasn't perfect. I'm just going off the cuff, right? But like, that would be how I might set an agenda. Most folks move from the customer says yes, and most people say, great, let's go into discovery. That's a huge mistake in my opinion. There's something missing, and that's called the upfront contract. And this, to me, is one of the most influential tools you have in your toolkit to influence a close, okay? And in sales, I always want to encourage people to remember there's no silver bullet or magic tricks. Nothing works 100% of the time. Sales is a game of likelihoods. It's like gambling. You want to improve your odds at every step of the stage, right? You just want to improve your odds 1%, 2%, 5% over time. If you continue to improve your odds, you'll win more deals. So with that being said, here's what a great upfront contract sounds like. You say, hey, great, Mr. Customer, before I ask some questions, I just kind of want to be straightforward with you. These calls usually end in one of two ways. Either at the end of this call, you know for a fact that my company is not going to be helpful, and you just think it's not the right fit for your business, and that's totally okay. I have really thick skin. You can just say, hey, Nish, thanks, but no thanks. And guess what? I won't bother you. I won't cold call you. I won't pester you. You don't have to, duck me, and I won't be chasing you around. But in return, I'd like to ask for the following. If this is a good fit, what I'd like to do is set concrete next steps, right? And concrete next steps look like, to me, a second meeting where we can walk through implementation, how to get you guys started, and come to a conclusion whether or not you're going to move forward. Does that sound fair, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? Most people will say, yeah, I don't want to waste a lot of time. I'm a straight shooter. I get it. I'll tell you if I don't like it, and I tell you if I do, and we'll get that next step. So what you're doing, Nish, before you even go into discovery, before you pitch your product, before you do anything, you're closing. You're closing for the next meeting, right? Because if they don't like what they see from you, you'd rather hear no right now because you don't want to keep them in your pipeline and be wasting time with them. If they're like, Nish, this is terrible. This is not at all what I expected. Great. It's the best thing that you can hear second to yes, I like what I'm seeing, right? It's the maybes that kill our pipeline. So I would recommend an upfront contract. There's a company called gong.io that writes some really nice content on upfront contracts. I would do some research into how to use those in your calls. I'll stop there. Did that all make sense, or anyone have a different thought or opinion?
I think that was absolutely gold, Justin. I've used Gong's framework. I nicked it for them. In fact, my next call is with Gong in 20 minutes because I'm one of their customers. But look, Nish, I think what Justin said there is absolutely gold, and it's exactly what I teach my team as well. Right? A lot of people focus on the close too much in the moment, right? And they don't prepare for it. You actually close way beyond. Proposals don't close deals. Like, actual trust and having that upfront contract and doing the right discovery as a result is what will help you in the future. And few people actually get that right. So I think what Justin said is pure gold, and it's something that I would start following and mapping out. Do you feel like you know what to do next with that specific piece?
So after the agenda, you would go into. So after you've got buy-in, I guess you would start to talk about the next step, which is uncovering the problem.
Yes. And could I sorry for jumping in here. I tend to talk a lot when I get excited about things, but like, to me, sales is very regimented, really systematized. So you have your agenda, it's relatively similar. You go into your upfront contract, which you need to nail on all of your calls. Every call's got to have an upfront contract because you're closing at the beginning of the call for the next step at the end of the call. Once you've done that, I think it's okay to go into discovery. but discovery is also a system, right? There is a system for discovery and what you're trying to learn. And what I recognize salespeople do frequently is they're listening for things that they can pitch to. And I would suggest that that mindset needs to be shifted. You should be talking to your prospect like they're your best friend and they just bought a small business and they desperately need digital marketing help, and you're the only guy that can solve their problems. But I want you to picture your best friend. Like, this is my best friend's name is Jim. When I sell, I always picture him holding a beer up to me in a bar and saying, oh my gosh, man, I'm in so much trouble. I bought this business. I have no idea what to do, because I take a real interest in actually solving his problems and not making a sale. So for me, it's like, you got to put your problem solver hat on and take your sales hat off, and it makes everything so much more natural. So then you walk through the system of discovery. Could I go through a quick system that I think is relatively worthwhile? And it's not perfect, right? But it's one that served me well. The first thing that you want to listen for in discovery is what I call a technical pain, okay? A technical pain might be something niche like, you know, Nish, I'm really frustrated because I'm not showing up on page 1 for best plumbing service, you know, Nashville, Tennessee, right? But why? That's a technical problem. That doesn't actually tell us the problem. So you just peel that back a little bit, right? Hey, why is that an issue? Can you help me understand why showing up number 1 is so important to your business? Well, the reason that it's so important to my business is because I used to be number 1 and now I'm not. And my revenue is starting to decrease month over month. And one of my competitors is starting to take my revenue. Well, there's an actual problem. Not showing up number 1 on Google is not a problem. It is what's behind that is the actual problem. So we're starting to learn about reduced revenue. Next, I want to learn about historical pain, okay? Historical attempts, historical tries. Interesting. What have you tried to fix that problem so far? Well, we signed up with an agency. Got it. How have things been working? They've been working really poorly. Really poorly? What do you mean by that? Or you can use the Chris Voss mirroring technique. When someone says, it's been working really poorly, you say, really poorly? Human instinct is to elaborate. Yeah, it's working really poorly. I'm spending $2,500 a month. I'm getting no good leads. I'm still on the second page of Google. It's really frustrating. Interesting. And you said you were losing revenue. Can you tell me how much revenue you've been losing month over month? Yeah, my revenue is decreasing $1,000 a month. Wow. So it sounds like if we could fix that problem, we could probably get you another 12,000 bucks, you know, in the next year. I'm just making example numbers up. Does that sound about right, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect? Yeah, that sounds right. That's the next thing, financial pain, trying to quantify it. How much money is it costing them? Once you've quantified that, you want to move into personal, right? Wow. And I know that you're the business owner, right? So you probably have a lot of priorities in your business. Where does this rank? Is this like the first thing that you think about when you wake up in the morning? Or is it like you're doing a new CRM installation and you're redoing your website and like, this is, you know, next quarter problem? No, I want to get this fixed right now. Interesting. So they can give you 3 examples. They want to fix it ASAP. They give you a specific date in the future, or they're not specific at all. Okay. So here's the play. ASAP, I bet. Wow. Sounds really urgent. But realistically, is there anything that might come up in the next few months that would stop you from working on this problem? No. Great. Now we actually have timeline, right? We have the T from Bant. We understand that this is an immediate need. Or they might say, yeah, Nish, like I think by January 1st, having this fixed would be great. Wow, Mr. Customer, that's pretty specific. Could I ask why having a solution in place by January 1st is why you chose? They might say, I'm opening a new location. We're launching our new website. Like knowing those things helps you understand when the business is going to close. Or they might say, I don't know. I can fix it whenever, I guess. Oh, sounds like there's not real urgency behind that problem. Am I understanding that correctly, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? So you're starting to learn more about it. So it's the Sandler method. It's L1 through L4. It's understanding technical pain, learning what they've done in the past to try and figure it out, attaching some revenue to it, attaching some personal priority to it, and then understanding when, how, and how urgent. So that is a systematized framework for discovery that I'll send to you at the conclusion of this call, Nish, that you can use on every single call to uncover BANT without saying, what's your budget, what's your needs, what's your timeline, questions like that. So I'll stop there. I talked for a while there. Anyone else have anything else to add to that?
No, not really.
No, it was absolute gold, to be honest with you, Justin. Kate, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
No, completely in agreement with the peeling back the layers of that. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I know that we're running out of a little bit of time, but something that you mentioned, Nish, that sort of somewhat concerns me, where you start wanting to get into the technical detail of how you might solve that problem. And I think that I would just avoid to a certain degree. Being a business owner myself, I don't want to know how you get optimization. I just want to know that you get it. That's why it's a dark art. I don't know how I want to do it. I don't want to look under the bonnet. I want to know that there's results and you can solve that pain. So uncovering all of that actual pain that I'm feeling, that Justin's just walked you through, is what I want solved, not how you find the best keywords for me to bid on and get me there. I just want to know that you will get me there. So that's a really interesting point. But to do that, you really need to dig, like Justin's just gone through, into that pain.
Yeah. And Nish, do you do citation work at your agency, at your business? Do you work with their local citations on like Google?
Citation work. So
like, do you work with their directory listings? Like, do you fix
here and there?
Yeah. Okay.
So we don't really fix it. We just build citations, directories. Yeah, local directories, same thing. Yeah.
Cool. So people are probably wondering what the heck are citations, and that's a problem, right? Because your customers you got to find a real simple way to explain what you do, right? So often when I was explaining citations or listings to a physician, I might say, "Hey doc, you know how you have a credit score? Yeah, got it. You know what things hurt your credit score, right? Late payments, right? Wrong information, you missed something, so on and so forth. Search engine optimization is a lot like a credit score. The better your credit score, the better your search engine optimization. And so what we do is we make sure that you don't suffer from any of those things. It's pretty simple. I use simple analogies: building a house, credit score. Like, I always use real high level analogies to talk to my customers, and it tends to resonate. If you have to get into the meat and potatoes of something, I would recommend that you have a way to describe it like you might describe it to a kindergartner. That's how I always think of pitching my product to people who are uneducated buyers. Describe it so that a 6-year-old could understand it. And so I want you to put some of those I want you to work on those things. I want you to practice those things when you get home. Take the most technical answer you've ever heard yourself give, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is so technical, and put it into a much simpler way to digest. So I know we're running short on time. I want to give one other piece of advice that I think could be helpful here, Nish. We've got our agenda. We've got our upfront contract, and I'm going to send you all this information. We're moving into our discovery. We're using L1 through L5. We're going through some really regimented discovery. Now it's time to move into the demonstration. Don't show them everything that you do. Only show them things that addresses the exact challenges that you learned about during the discovery, okay? Salespeople want to show every feature that they have in their software, and you don't have to. You show the feature or the value that solves their problem. And then at the end, you can always say, I heard that you had this problem and this problem. Do you think that we solved those today? I feel like we did. Do you feel the same way? Yes, Nish, I feel like we've solved those problems, or your solution can help solve those problems. Great. You know what? Just before we move on to pricing and implementation, you should always beat them to pricing. I'm going to share pricing with you next. I'm going to share you how to get onboarded. So we're going to talk about all that. Here are 2 other things that our platform does that I didn't hear from you were interesting, or I didn't learn about anything. Are those interesting? Most of the time clients will be like, no, those 2 things aren't interesting. Great, let's move on to pricing, right? Let's move on to pricing and implementation. During that demonstration, here's another system that you can use. It's called PASTOR, P-A-S-T-O-R. It's a copywriting method. When you learn about P, that's pain. When someone says, I'm losing revenue, right? That's P, pain. Next is A. I want you to amplify that pain. Losing revenue, we're only losing $1,000 a month now. I've seen some prospects of mine who are losing $1,000 month over month, but as their competitor got better at search engine optimization, they started losing 1,500 and then 2,000 and then 2,500. Like, do you guys get the sense that you're losing more and more month over month? Like, I like to amplify the pain. I want that pain to be existential. I want them to feel it inside of their chest. And then once they really feel that pain, I want you to move to the letter S. This is pastor. That's story. Next, you're going to tell a story about how to fix that pain using a customer that you've worked with before. Then you're going to move to T, which is the transformation. And after we worked with that customer through this story, here's the transformation. This is what they look like today. What they look like today should be what your prospect wants to look like in the future. You're showing them what their future could look like. And then the O is offer. Let me show you how to get started. And R is response. Would you like to get started today? So that's a very simple copywriting method that I translated into a sales methodology. And it works really well for low price point deals, like $1,500 a month. That's a low enough price point where you should be able to get deals moving through your funnel pretty quickly. So as you can see, Nish, I'm pretty systematized as I work through my deals. Mm-hmm. And then this last piece of advice, and then I'll be quiet because I know I heard you say you were lacking some confidence sometimes in the pricing. Here's an easy trick. You walk them through everything. You get buy-in that you think you've solved their problem. If they say yes, you say, great, I'm going to share some pricing with you. You share all of your pricing options. And before they can kind of get into the pricing, you say, here are our 3 pricing options, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, and $1,500 a month. Mr. Customer, could I make a recommendation? They will always say, sure. And then I want you to actually serve them the right pricing model for themselves. If it's not the $1,500 a month and it's the $1,000, I want you to tell them why. Here's what I recommend. I recommend the $1,000 a month package for you, and here's why. You're located in New York City. It's really competitive, so the $500 a month package, isn't going to be souped up enough for you. You're in this very competitive industry and you need this type of thing, and this package has that type of thing. That's why I recommend this. Don't buy the most expensive one. Save your money and come here and get this middle package, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. What do you think? To me, the recommendation close is an easy way for people who lack confidence to share all the options and then reclaim control and be an expert. Now you're taking over and you're driving them to the right decision. Don't ask them what the right decision is. They don't know. You're the expert. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm done. Sorry, I went on a diatribe there, but I was excited about that particular call.
Justin, I think this is the first time me, Kate, and Costas have had to sit here in silence, which is a really good sign. Nish, you're learning from one of the best out there at the moment. How useful was this session for you?
Oh man, Justin, thank you.
Sure.
I guess there's I've noticed a lot of holes in my sales process, and one of them is having a systematic approach, having structure, and what you've just said with closing it's already given me a lot of confidence. Usually I would go in with the most smallest package because I think with my own money, I think with my own head. I say, hey, how much can I afford? And I put myself in their shoes and I go with the smallest one. But this now allows me to go, hey, look, I can put all 3 packages in front of them and give them my recommendation. I think that's brilliant.
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
I'd just like to reiterate what Justin said, by the way. Bant is antiquated, right? I got rid of it years ago, and there are so many others that you can use. I use a system called Spiced, which I can send to you as well, which I feel works a lot better. Don't try and bank qualify people, as Justin said. Not everyone knows what they're buying, and therefore they don't know their budget, and that's usually where things fail. Have those upfront contracts. Have a really good systematic approach. Sales isn't an art; it's a science, right? It's repeatable. You need to be able to repeat it over and over again, and to give yourself the confidence, because when you start doing really good discovery, when you start having that position where you feel really confident you can solve their problems, you should be able to close those deals at a higher value and at a higher rate. So hopefully this has been useful for you. One final thing from me, Nish and Justin, do either of you guys have someone you want to nominate to come on Fire on Friday in the future? If so, can you let us know who it is?
Yeah, I would nominate Kevin Dorsey if you haven't had him already.
We'll bring, yeah.
Have you had
let's
him?
bring KD on.
No, we
haven't had him yet. No.
Cool.
Let's get KD on. Awesome. Nish, how about you?
I would like to nominate David Collins. He's a good mate. He's an employee. I think he would take away a lot from this session.
Good stuff. Cool. Well, look, guys, we're up for time. Thank you so much, Nish, for coming on and being so open. Hopefully, we've given you the tools you need to go away and win. Justin, love that advice, man. You've really blown a lot of people's minds, I can tell already. Kate and Costas, it's always a pleasure. This has been another episode of 5 on Friday. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.